Thank you, Nick, for reading, friends for being here, and thank you so much, Four Way Books, Martha Rhodes and Ryan Murphy. So if nothing else, it is a pretty book. The cover is nice. What happens inside, we don't know, right? But thank you for that. And so yeah, I'm going to read some poems, and I'm going to get to this very quickly. A couple to lead into that. Losing my religion. The truth is, I left it on the bus on purpose because I saw someone else's religion there and didn't want it to be lonely. The truth is, you should never begin anything with the truth is, because then people will think everything else you were saying was false. The truth is, all I wanted was this, to fall asleep with you at the bus station, still holding our coffee cups, still holding our scepters. Matinee. Today the part of love will be played by regret. Memory will be played by what if. Tragedy by the saxophonist. Silence will be played by silence. There will be no intermission. On love. You can't climb on top and call yourself conqueror, or straddling whip love into submission. Love wanders from sky to sky. Once or twice I've seen it there, or felt a presence other than my own, a kind of glowing twilight makes before it tires of one place. And most importantly is this book. Well, there are other things important in the world, but mainly this book, I guess. This is called Springfield. And the nice thing, it was agreed by people my own age, is that the print is big and some of us can read it. At first, I said to Ryan, Ryan, why is the print so big? He's like, it's not so big. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, I can read it. It makes sense. Springfield. Get a room, the dude in the blue Camaro yells. He's made of rage and tinted glass, and we're made of desire and what if. And what I want to say is, dude, we have a room, but we got hungry. Every 3 days we have to eat or get mimosas or get yelled at by you. Get a room, he yells again. Maybe because he thinks we're hard of hearing or because it pains him to see our affection. Maybe he thinks, what a waste. 2 women who could have loved him instead. Instead, we get sandwiches to go and go back to the room we call our room, which could be in any motel, near any off-ramp, in any Springfield, with its anonymous white walls and towels, with the empty drawers you love and the flat screen TV that seems to keep getting bigger and flatter. And since we're taking inventory, let's don't forget the bedside Bible and the red pen tucked inside, as if we might be inspired to make corrections. And come to think of it, I would like to make some changes in how things turn out, how they turn on a dime or over time crumble. Instead, I listen to you read aloud from the pamphlets you found in the lobby. Fun fact, basketball was invented in Springfield, Mass., as was vulcanized rubber. The man who wrote The Cat in the Hat was born here. And perhaps most importantly, this is the birthplace of interchangeable parts, or at least where they first caught on. Think assembly lines. Think mass production. I'm thinking about the fun fact of you, about how much I love origin myths about how people aren't things. We can't be vulcanized. We can't, like faulty chains, be replaced. And I'm thinking about that guy in the Camaro because how what really drives him is loneliness. How we see iterations of him in all the Springfields we find ourselves in, because that's your fantasy. You and me in every Springfield in America, in Nebraska and Ohio and North Dakota, in townships in Jersey and Michigan, always in a motel bar, pretending we've never met. And after a while, after Idaho and Maine, after Springfields in Kentucky and East Texas, the myth rings true. It's old cat in the hat, the white walls and small bars of soap, the falling asleep in the middle of a life, the waking to one place named for another. Not a fun fact exactly, just what the Russian novelist, not immune to Springfields, knew about unhappiness. That was kind of an epic for me. That's like 40 of my normal poems. This is called Clear and Present. How dangerous is the snake oil salesman? Ask the snake. That's more, like a day's work. This is called Daphne. She can be found in two places in the index in Edith Hamilton's mythology. Under Daphne, where she belongs, and under Apollo, where she struggled not to be. There it reads, Apollo, Daphne loved by, as if overtaking could be confused with love, as if a woman didn't have to choose between being Daphne by Apollo stolen or being, I need a page turner, wait a minute, Daphne by Apollo stolen or being instead a tree beyond him. I don't know if you all had Edith Hamilton's mythology in like 7th or 8th grade and still have it. There's some good stories, but it kind of, some problems in there. This is called Something. I mean, the title is called Something. Not to be confused with, nothing or everything. Something. Something went wrong. That's what the machine says when I call to say my paper didn't arrive. Machines are trained by people, so they're smart and they know a thing or 50 trillion. Did you miss your Sunday delivery? It asks. I did, I say. I miss everything I say, because it's a machine and it has to listen, or at least it has to not hang up without trying to understand why I called, which means trying to correct what went wrong. Let me see if I got this right, the voice says. You missed your Sunday paper. Yes, I say, but also I miss my childhood and fairy tales like Eden. I miss sweet Rob Roys with strangers. I miss fabric softener and soft lighting. I'm sorry, the machine says. I'm having trouble understanding. Did you miss today's paper? Yes, I say, but that's not the half of it. Sometimes I just feel like half of me, and even that feels like too much. I'm having trouble understanding, the machine repeats, its syllables halted, as if trying to mimic an empath. I'm having trouble understanding too, I say. I used to understand so much. Photosynthesis, the human heart. I'd even memorized the Krebs cycle, but now all I remember is lifting the golden coil of the kitchen phone to maneuver under my mother's conversations. It was like lifting the horizon. There's a silence, and the machine asks, "Are you still there?" In a few words, please describe your issue. Where do I begin being a minimalist? Time, I say. I've got a problem with that. Also, loss and detachment. That's pretty much it. And the news in its sky blue sleeve is meant to be a distraction, isn't it, I ask? More silence, and then, "You miss your mother?" a voice asks. It's a human voice. "Me too," she says. I got a text message from my brother, and it was quite surprising. He said, "I read your book." And my brother has a stack of my books, but he doesn't generally read them. And I thought, I wonder, did he really read it? And then he said to me, "Do you always think about death so much?" And I said, "I do." And I realized, I think he read them. So this is a shout out to my brother Bruce. Thank you for reading my poems. This is called Nightshirt. Nightshirt. She stepped out of it, and day was everywhere. This is Contingency. This is a poem for Rezia. Contingency. In another life, I'd want this one. Emergency chocolate cake. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Maybe you all know it. I think we're getting closer to needing to make it, maybe. Emergency chocolate cake. It's the cake we bake in wartime, without eggs or milk, without flour or chocolate. We bake it without ovens or pans. It's hard to imagine sitting around the bombed-out kitchen table, eating it without hands, without a mouth, without saving the recipe for some knucklehead in peacetime, in uniforms, gung-ho, to reenact everything we went without. Refusal to mourn. In lieu of flowers, send him back. Island. Someone said the wild horses swam here and couldn't swim back. But it must have been their own wildness they were swimming after. This is called Notes on the Text. When I was writing my novel, I was in Sweden, listening to popcorn not popping. I was thinking about the burden of plot, how sound drives everything down the road or off it. I thought I was listening to the radio in the Plymouth when Lou Rawls came on, all bedroom, all let's get it on. And I saw it was a mixtape someone had made my wife while I was buttering day-old toast. You never know what ditch your road will become. And that there's nothing new under the sun doesn't mean you don't get burned. What's with the double negatives, you could ask? I'm stockpiling them on the off chance that I might climb atop them and get a better view, like the one the realtor from a summer rooftop promised. Just build up, he said, and you'll get the sea. He was jumping up when he said this, and did not fall. This was in Coralville, Iowa, not far from the diner where I ordered what sounded like a croque monsieur, but ended up being ham on rye, which the realtor, out of traction, sent back to the kitchen, explaining that this had been a failure of the imagination. Write that on my headstone, will you? And if there's not room, write it in the sky with my ashes. And if Lou Rawls is there, tell him I miss him. So one of the things about having a book, right, is that you start reading the poems together and you realize that, like, at least I realized, like there are 5 words that I use over and over. And I was thinking about that, and it seemed like, like I was thinking of the Von Trapp children, wearing the curtains. And it felt like I put like 5 words in there. I need to practice that joke more. Next time it will be better. I think I'm going to read 30 more poems. Not really. I'm going to read 2 more poems. This is called Bunker. Bunker. What would I think coming up after my world had evaporated? I'd wish I were water. And one other poem, because I'm thinking about I think about my mom and dad a lot. I was lucky. This is called Roosevelt Dargon. Roosevelt Dargon, how often I have thought of you and your leg. We were driving that last stretch of slow road home in snow and ice in the blue Vista Cruiser. What was I, 5, when your big rig crashed? We didn't see it happen, but got there right after, before the ambulance and cops, before the snarl of cars that would have kept us from reaching you. I say us, but what I mean is my father, who told my brothers and me, stay here, while my mother toggled between Static and Tommy Dorsey, and he ran to the jackknifed cab and found you pinned in there, left leg mostly severed, but tethered enough under the crushed front dash to keep several bigger men from pulling you out. There was a lot of blood you were losing, and the tumbled lumber and concrete blocks from the load you'd been hauling, and the smashed glass of cling peaches and syrup from the truck you'd swerved into, and all around you fuel was pooling, collecting, threatening to catch fire. And I have to imagine what you would have heard, my father's voice, calm and measured, saying, I'm a doctor. He might not have said, a psychiatrist. What he showed you was his Swiss Army knife. What he did was ask permission to finish what the accident had started, to cut the tendon cleanly, to free you. I guess we never know which part of ourselves we'll have to sacrifice, or when we might need to say to a stranger with a pocket knife, I'd be obliged. And that was that. They pulled you out. Someone may have grabbed the mangled leg as an afterthought, but this was 1966, before the age of reattachments. My father knelt in the snow and wiped his knife blade clean. This was before there would be people on the road we could not help. Before the next Christmas and the ones after that, when a crate of oranges would come from Baltimore with a card that said, best wishes from the leg and me, never specifying which leg you meant, the one you kept or the one you let go. What the mind keeps, it keeps. I still have my mother humming. I thought about you. Still have my brothers punching each other in the way back. Still have my father still running with his Swiss army, as if he could, in some coming blizzard, save us all. Thank you.
So I'm going to read from Low. And it's also, just thanks to the Poetry Society, it's amazing, just like suddenly one day it appearing here. It's really wild how that happened in our neighborhood, right in our neighborhood, this amazing space. It seems sort of just a miracle. This is unbroken. As if the past were riding up to meet you, as if the past could ride a horse, as if the past were a horse wandering riderless along a dusty road, as if the horse had never been ridden. They say a horse is broken when the rider can stay on. They say the past is broken when you can let go of it. I have broken with the past, she says. I have erased it from my phone. I have blinded my eyes from her eyes. I didn't know the past was made of horses. I didn't even call it a horse until now. I didn't even call it strange until I looked back on it. The past was a horse crossing a desert, a body draped over it. This is how we get the beloved home. Strange now to never hear a horse upon waking or when out in the field. I didn't know the past would come for me. I didn't even call it the past until now. Sometimes one gallops past, but no one else ever sees it. I went to a reading the other night in Houston, Patricia Smith and Clint Smith, the Smiths. And Clint started out the reading as saying, like, after every poem, I want you to applaud loudly. And then everyone did the entire night. They just applauded. They just were raucous the entire night. And I was thinking how different it was in here. But that's because no, I'm not asking. I'm not asking for that. I was like, wow, that's bold. That's a bold request. And everyone just went along with it. Everyone was very happy to do it. And they deserved it. Not that we didn't, but. Boyhood. It's like a camera. You leave the shutter open. I'll start again. It's like a camera. If you leave the shutter open, more time bleeds in, and with it, more light, until their voices fill the space you remember. If I fell, I probably did fall. I was always falling into, onto, over something. That enormous rock, say, in someone's front yard. It was the moon, and I was leaving my footprints all over it. It was an iceberg, and I was its doomed ship. It was the top of a mountain, an entire world buried below the lawn. It was taller than a man. It had fallen from heaven or a spaceship. I'd climb it when we'd visit, once a year or so, before I ever made it inside that house I can't remember. I never knew who anyone was. I was told to say hi, so I said hi. Yeah, if you could just do that after every poem. My daughter has an app on her phone that records her because she's like a real, she talks in her sleep. And just every day we just listen to what she says in her sleep. And it's like, it sounds like that, a lot of it. There's these sort of hoots and hollers. It's a really cool app. You should do it if you want to know what you sound like, what your subconscious really sounds like. There's some long poems in this book, and these sort of like notes, these note sections. And I think I'm going to read this one. There's another one that took place right around the corner from here, but I think I'll read this one, though. It's called Notes on a Monument to Ether. And I'm just going to read sections of it because it's rather long, so I'm going to read some. I'm editing it in front of you. Notes on a Monument to Ether. A man perched atop a pillared tower. He is seated, and draped across his lap is another man, nearly naked, who seems to be unconscious. The men are meant to represent the discovery that ether could be used as an anesthetic. The first successful demonstration of this was at the nearby Massachusetts General Hospital, when my brother was born, in a surgical theater that is now known as the Ether Dome. In my 20s, when I lived in Boston, I would have passed this statue nearly every day, yet I didn't take it in. It never spoke to me. I never looked up to see the man lying in another man's arms, this Pieta. This says something about the statue and something about me, that I even have a deeper truth. My friend Richard, who lived with me in that abandoned strip joint, had just tested positive. I was working in the shelter. I knew everyone who slept outside by name. I knew my father's name, the way he used it as a blanket. If asked, I'd tell you the apocalypse had come a couple years earlier, and now we were all walking through the ruins. Now we were walking in its shadows. Now we were painting curtains on plywood to make the abandoned buildings look lived in. But I was using the word wrong. I wasn't seeing what had been uncovered. I stopped to look at a box on the sidewalk and realized someone was alive inside it. It was in Boston that I began to consider myself a poet. Yet, or so, I anesthetized myself daily with whatever I could find. For most days, it seemed, I just felt too much. Neither shall there be any more pain. What I felt created a tension in my soul, for I could not transform it into words. Tension is essential for all art. Yet for me, at this time in my life, it was not a useful tension. I didn't know how to use it. Anesthesia is the negation of the root aesthete, from the Greek aesthetes, a keen perceiver. Though I called myself a poet, I was, clearly, not a keen perceiver. The main reason to take drugs is for the promise of the pain to go away. Feeling no pain is what we used to answer if asked how we were after a few beers. It only becomes a problem when we take it to the point where to be or not to be, there is no is. Francis Bacon's triptych, in memory of George Dyer, is a tribute to his lover, who took his life on the evening of Bacon's greatest, up to that point, success. Bacon's painting was influenced by his reading of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, especially the lines, "I have heard the key turn in the door," which Bacon represents as in the central panel, in which the figure, Dyer, turns a key in a lock. Bacon's bodies are often cut open, desiccated, flayed. Michelangelo would cut up cadavers to learn human anatomy. As it was illegal at that time to desecrate a body, he had to do this in secret, in the back room of the Basilica de Santo Spirito. Santo Spirito, Holy Spirit, in essence, something impossible to hold on to. In the room, the women come and go. Michelangelo, searching for something inside us he could hold on to, something essential. It is said that cutting these bodies open left him with a taste for nothing but bread and water. This is a man. This is a tree. This is bread. Bread is essential. Water is essential. It is the most basic element. It is the most basic elemental sentence. It is raining. It is broken. It is full. It is finished. It is finished is one of the 7 last phrases of Jesus. It isn't is always just on the other side. I cut out a lot of it, and then I realized that a lot of things I cut out would help you make sense of the other parts. I might not do that again. called Water Cycle. Who is in that back that's like, said he likes that poem? Who said that? You look very familiar.
Christchurch.
Well, who is it?
Christchurch.
Christchurch, it is. Hey. Yeah, I'm not doing this. I won't turn you in and say who you are. He's pretty famous, though. I'm like, I know that guy. Maybe I'll tell you later after this poem who it is. It's called Water Cycle. This is based on videos by Bill Viola that you might know. There's these beautiful videos of people walking through walls of water. All the rain in the world is falling, making a door you can't open. On one side of this door, your body, you're inside it now. On the other side, your other body, the one you've been trying to enter since you were born. To find yourself, you must cross this threshold of rain. Each drop whispers, you will not be this beautiful forever. One day you will grow so luminous, this world will not be able to contain it. As a newborn, you were held close to your father's chest to imprint his smell upon you. Where did he go? From here, you can almost make him out, the you wanted to be, though he's more a silhouette than a hand you could hold. Careful now, a hole has opened at your feet, all the rain spiraling down it, nowhere else to go, like that chart on the wall in elementary school, the water cycle, how it leaps from liquid to gas, to solid, to teardrop, to icicle, to steam, to waterfall, to piss, an arrow connecting each. Nothing is ever lost. No one is ever unlost. Besides, it hurts to have skin, to pour a soul into. And now I'm going to change up my reading a little bit. What was that? Birthday? Is that a request? Yeah, I'll do that at some point. Yeah, that's cool. No one's ever asked that one. No one's ever asked for any requests, actually. We don't really do requests, but I'll do that. But for you, I'll do that. So I'm just going to read the first part of this poem, and I'll tell you why. This is a crown of sonnets, sort of. It's called Notes on Corona. I just want to read the first sonnet. This is for Mark in the back there. Snow woke me, flakes so white I felt blind. Sometimes we don't like the angels God sends. The preacher preached. This one wears a crown. This one is a thorn. My daughter wanted to go, so I typed church into Yelp and took her. The choir was small, but enough to fill us. You've heard, no doubt, of my earlier life. I'll read one more. My earlier life was something I held inside and tried to destroy before it could destroy me. A lot, yes, was taken for granted. Often it was, yes, me who took it. In every field now, we are building rooms made of air. We call them thresholds. Where is everyone, you ask, as your voice echoes across the emptiness, as everything slowly unplugs? I'll stop it there. So, yeah, the story of this is right before COVID, our daughter, who was probably 10 at the time, was suddenly like, I want to go to church. And we were like, okay, how do you do that? And so I literally went on Yelp and said, where do you find a church? And we typed church in and went to a couple churches, and now we go every Sunday. We go to church, and this guy in the back here will does those church things for us. He gives us bread and things. I don't take the bread, but my daughter takes the bread. I think she takes it. I don't think she's supposed to, but I think she does. I don't know the rules. But Mark's very nice, though. He's great. This guy. Yeah. Thank you. I don't have to call him father or anything either. I'll read birthday since that was a request. Why not? Check the time. Okay, I got time. Birthday. This was for Marie Howe on her birthday. Birthday. But if it's your birthday, I'll read for you. Yeah. At some point, the lights will go out, and a cake will appear to be floating in the doorway, and we will begin the song. The cake will be your favorite, held aloft by the ones who love you, and it will be on fire, an offering, one flame for each year you've been with us. Inside each flame, millions of smaller flames, one for each hour, and before you make your wish, you will wonder if these aren't the candles that never go out, that jump back to life after each breath. Some call them tricks, but think what it means for the wish that your breath, instead of ending it, makes the flame want to stay. Yeah. That's a good one. I wouldn't have read that one. That's a good one. Thank you. It's sort of strangely moving too, that poem. It snuck up on me. It's called Volunteers. From a distance, the city looks blanketed in smoke. Inside, it's hard to breathe. A song is playing. The walls are spattered with, what is that? Oil? This soldier, this isn't his house. It wasn't his sister. The explosion, it came from somewhere outside of him. It was called in. This house, if we can empty it of all meaning, we'll be safe. What about the house next to it and the house next to that? That song has been playing this whole time, an almost imperceptible drone. The family, they live in a camp now. The student, she didn't finish her assignment. The patient, he's on life support. The garden, seed blew in from fields 100 miles away. Did you hear that Trump got fined another like $400 million today?
Yeah.
300.
What's he? No, it's 400. No, well, he got 300, but his son, it's the whole company got 400, over 400. It's like another 100 million on top of that. Yeah. It's like 4.5 million, $500 million. Yeah. How's he going to do it?
50 million.
How can he pay? How can he pay? Yeah. So now I'll read my Trump poem. No, I don't. I don't actually have one. I don't. This is not a Trump poem. This has nothing to do. But maybe it is. I don't know. Anchor. Maybe it is a Trump poem. So it's called Anchor. If you fill your house with water, it will at some point push all the windows out. It will seep through the seams where the door meets the frame. Then it will open the door. From the sidewalk, it will look like a fountain, the lawn now thick with it, the membrane between air and water dissolved. Can you imagine what it's like to become all of one thing? That tunnel they talk about, the one you enter on your way out, it is carved through stone, surrounded by water, and the water is leaking in. Stretch out your hands. It is rushing past you, up to your ankles now. It pulls you along. It's going where you are going. How long can you hold your breath? Maybe that is a Trump poem. And I'll finish with this. Yeah, I'll finish with this poem. It's called Baptismal. A spider web is not a tool the spider uses to catch its prey. It is the spider, stretched outside itself. How far beyond our fingertips do our bodies extend? What is it we are suspended over? What holds us? Maybe we are the reason God made other people, so we could wait together, held. Thanks.